to today's show. Today is a huge day for Trump. Not only are the polls showing it, but this is insane how much he is ahead, not in the betting markets, but in all the new polling from Harris's horrible interview. I mean, this is probably one of the worst interviews for any presidential candidate in history. Obama and Biden, on top of this, we're seen talking about Kamala Harris and that she is not a strong candidate and that they are worried. This was literally caught on C-SPAN. I've got the video for you in the details. Everybody is worried. The Democrats are jumping ship. A lot of down the ballot Democrats that are running for the House and for the Senate are trying to distance themselves from Kamala Harris. This presidential election, I'm telling you, is almost over, but it's insane. On top of this, there's more of a news scandal that the media is trying to cover up for Kamala Harris. They have shown, and we have evidence now, that every single news outlet, mainstream, that's left, has posted the same exact wording, the same exact story, trying to steer the news away from the interview and how bad it was. It's so blatant, you can't make this up. And on top of this, we've already heard that Virginia is now is being sued by the DOJ. Well, guess what? They're turning the tables now. Florida is suing the Biden administration over their refusal to verify immigration records to prevent non-citizens from voting. So we've got a ton of news for y'all today. It's going to get crazy. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. And just want to say thank you to all of our members. I see Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Sandra Marioenzi, Deanna Scott, Joyce Massa, and Tarina Smith in the chat. Thank y'all so much. We are so excited with what we're going to do this next week. I think we have it scheduled for Tuesday of our big donation live to the hurricane victims through this channel. We're so grateful for everybody in the super chats you give to support the cause. This is, I mean, I'm gearing up to be a crazy last few weeks for the election. But check this out because we got a lot of things to show you. Sorry, y'all. 1 second. Okay, we got this, y'all. Check it out.
It's just gut-wrenching to know that was preventable. And it happened after they did away with the wall, after they decided to end Remain in Mexico. What's your reaction?
Well, first of all, of course, our heart goes out to Patty Moore and all the people who have lost their lives because of illegal immigrant crime. But we don't just need sympathies for these victims. We need to change the policy so that it doesn't happen to the next American family or the next innocent American girl. And what I heard from Kamala Harris last night was look, this is not, these girls, you know, Jocelyn Nungry and Laken Riley and, of course, Patty's daughter are not dead because of some accident or some force of nature. They're dead because Kamala Harris opened the border and let their killers into our country to go after their daughters. They don't just need our sympathy. They don't just need our kind words, though they certainly deserve that. They need leadership who actually puts the security of this country first. And unfortunately, they're just not getting that from Kamala Harris. You know, guys, the thing that I found just so bizarre about Kamala Harris's entire interview, 25 minutes of a person who couldn't answer a direct question. How many illegal immigrants have come in? She didn't answer that question. What are we turning the page on? She goes and talks about Donald Trump, who, of course, hasn't been in office for the past 3.5 years. Kamala Harris has been. What I saw as a person who not just didn't have the skill to navigate a tough interview, but doesn't know how to explain her record because her record is not possible to explain away to the American people. And so she dipped and dodged questions for 25 minutes. That's not leadership, and that's not contrition. And I think the American people would like to see from their vice president an acknowledgement that she screwed up. It's why we have so many of these problems. Real leadership would be promising a new course and acknowledging while the old course didn't work.
So, Senator,
real quick.
Just stay on it.
So I've got some video footage of Kamala Harris's interview that hasn't been seen yet. So this is crazy. This came out right just a minute ago. I want to show you this real quick. This was Kamala Harris leaving the interview. You've got to check this out. I'm telling you, this is crazy stuff right here. Check this out. This was her leaving the interview, y'all. Let me know what you think. Guys, complete wreck. Couldn't do nothing. Guys, sorry. I don't know if you've seen that before yet, but I just pulled it up. I wanted y'all to check it out. You know, I told you I'm going to keep you up to date with all the real news. Oh.
One thing I noticed in that interview is that there's I guess a fundamental misunderstanding between changing the laws when it comes to immigration reform and border security. And it seems like they feel like it's one of the other. So I guess my question is, how do you guys highlight that on the campaign trail? Because you saw in the interview with Baier, she continued to say, well, we proposed the bill. But of course, that bill had no border security measures there.
It was all about amnesty.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So first of all, you go back to the original days of the Biden-Harris administration and 94 executive orders when Kamala Harris became border czar that had the intended purpose and had the effect of opening the American southern border. That's ending Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. That's stopping construction of the border wall. That's a whole host of things that basically threw open the floodgates. Now, they want to pull this bait and switch where they say, yes, we opened the border for 3 years, but if Congress had bailed us out 3 years later, that somehow was going to make the original 3 years of our open border better. And the problem even there is that the congressional law, I was there when that border bill was being negotiated, it wouldn't have secured the border. It would have allowed 2 million people to come into our country illegally every single day, and it would have permanently implemented this catch and release policy that the Kamala Harris administration put in place. If you have catch and release, where basically you have an illegal immigrant come in and we let them float around in our country for 10 or 15 years where they're waiting for a court date, you're never going to have real border security. So I would like her to just acknowledge they came in saying they were going to open the border. They came in saying they were going to undo Donald Trump's border policy. They did that. The predictable consequences ensued. Admit it. Admit that you guys screwed up and change course. Don't blame it on Congress because you guys refuse to do your job.
Senator, we were joking earlier that if somebody was playing a drinking game where every time she said the name Donald Trump, 10 minutes in, you would be completely toasted because every time he asked a question about her or the Biden administration, she talked about Donald Trump. One of the things she had to do last night was she had to clean up the mess she made last week on The View and then on the Stephen Colbert show, where when asked, so what would you do differently in a Kamala Harris administration? And she goes, nothing comes to mind. Brett wanted to make sure that she actually felt that way, or did she have a different answer? Well, as it turns out, she has a different answer. Listen to this.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people...
That is about turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
You've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Yeah, come on. I heard 2 or 3 times for a drink during that one particular answer. So what she did is essentially, because Joe Biden is deeply unpopular right now, Senator, is she declared her independence from him and said her administration would not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. Do you believe that?
No, not at all, Steve. I mean, look, the entire theme of her campaign is that she hasn't even met the person that's the president, even though she's his sitting vice president and ran along the ticket with him. She is, of course, the deciding vote in trillions of dollars of Joe Biden's spending. She bragged about being the last person in the room when major decisions were made. But we have to sort of step back and appreciate there is something pathological going on here. She has been in power for 3.5 years. And when asked about how she would be different, she goes and talks about Donald Trump. And when when it's pointed out, well, you've actually been in office for 3.5 years, she says, well, he's been talking about politics for 10 years. What is it in the mind of this person that can't just acknowledge that she has been in power for 3.5 years and bears some responsibility as the sitting vice president for the condition that the country is in? Now, she could do any number of things. She could actually say, well, I think that things are a little bit better than you're giving me credit for. Or she could say, well, this wasn't totally my fault. Instead, she pretends that Donald Trump bears the responsibility for problems that happened while she was the sitting vice president. She does that about the border. She does that about the affordability of groceries. She does that about the chaos on the world stage. I've never seen a person who's running for president as the sitting vice president who pretends that she has nothing to do with the condition of the country she's been governing.
Well,
and this is where it's at right now. So the betting markets, I always got you updated, everybody. I always show you. So the betting markets right now, Trump is up a historic almost over 20 points. We're going to get some fireworks for this right now because you know what? We need some real leaders in the White House. All swing states, he is kicking Kamala Harris's butt. And then on top of that, there's another, it's the call sheet of who's going to win the presidential election. Trump is up 58% to Kamala Harris's 42%. So I'm telling you, across the board, people are seeing that what? Kamala Harris can't answer a dang question. She doesn't want to take any responsibility for anything that she does. And on top of that, this is even worse because check this out. Right now, this was posted that Biden and Obama were talking. This was on C-SPAN. And it's all muffled and everything, but they were able to go through, slow it down, hear the voice, and read the lips and whatnot, where Biden tells Obama she's not as strong as me. Obama turns to him and says, I know, that's true. We have time. And this is it's literally come full circle. You got Pelosi there. You got Clinton there. But guess what? They picked a bad candidate. You can't come back from that. It is what it is. They just need to own it and move on from there. Check this out.
Kamala Harris last night in a chaotic last-ditch Hail Mary baby attempt to win a football game where she's down by 4 in the fourth quarter, goes on Fox with Brett Baier. And guys, ladies, I told you, man, you gotta trust me a little bit. I know there's a lot of skepticism about people in the media, and they should be. Brett's not an opinion guy. Brett's never been an opinion guy. Brett Baier from Fox, a journalist. I'm telling you, I worked with these guys for 10 years. 10 years I was doing hits at Fox. They have a different, there's two Fox Newses. There's the opinion side and there's the journalism side. It's not one company. It is, but it's not, okay? Brett's a pretty fair guy. There are other guys, I think Neil's a little left-leaning, obviously, at this point. And then you got Hemmers pretty straight down the middle with these guys. I told you, give the guy a chance. I don't work there anymore. I got no dog in the fight. I'm not his agent. But I just told you he's not going to go and embarrass himself or the network. I thought he asked pretty good questions. Tell me in the chat if you think I'm wrong. I'm open to other opinions. Maybe I'm biased and I don't know, but I don't think so. I watched the same 25-minute interview you did. I saw an interviewer asking questions, redirecting constantly back to the point, and then I saw a presidential candidate making an absolute buffoon out of herself. She looked like a bozo. Here is an excellent summary from an account I just followed today, which is excellent, on Twitter. What is it called? Apoctos, A-P-O-C, is it T-Z or something? T-O-Z, really cool account. Just saw this morning, followed him back. Here is an unbelievable summary. It's about 15 seconds of the most substantive answers Kamala Harris gave. She did give some with some deep substance, so you better understand who Kamala Harris is. Check it out.
Democrats voted. Donald Trump, 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 and Donald Trump, Donald Trump,
President Biden had a fundraiser debate stage.
Let's go back to Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
Fellas, I told you to play the one with the substance, where she digs deep. She scratches the surface level stuff off and she gets right to the point, so you know what Kamala Harris is going to do if you kindly were to cast your vote for her out of the generosity of your heart. But yeah, that's it. That is it. That's basically a summary. Sadly, it's thank you, Apocta is on X. I love the little, if you're missing it on Apple or Spotify, there's a little Donald Trump dancing in the background. You know the Donald Trump dance, the Donald Trump boogie? Folks, if you watch the 25 minutes, folks in the chat, I'm looking right now. Anybody disagree? Did you get anything out of that interview other than, I suck, but you shouldn't like Donald Trump either? Was there a single answer where you feel she clarified her position? Transgender sex changes, what she did wrong at the border, anything? All right, now listen, all right, serious time. Although, that's kind of a joke, but it's not. That was, in essence, a summary of the entire freaking interview. Brett Baier saying, hey, the border's been open. Can you give me a number? Donald Trump. You're on video saying you want sex changes for president. Donald Trump. Here is a very good question I thought he asked. I said I thought he did a great job. Listen, we can all do a better job. I'm going to interview Donald Trump tomorrow. I guarantee you, even P1s in the Bongino army, some of you are going to say, Dan, I wish you asked this. That's fine. You get an hour. Kamala Harris tried to filibuster through the whole thing. She said nothing. It's what you get. Here he asked a question about Biden's mental faculties. This is why I told you they are in chaos. This Kamala Harris latest push for Donald Trump's medical records is so hilarious in its stupidity. I'm actually stunned even her chaotic, ridiculous campaign is going down this road, knowing they're leaving themselves open for a question like this. Hey, all of a sudden you're interested in medical records. When did you notice Joe Biden's mental faculties failing? Boom. And this speaks to Kamala Harris's candor or lack thereof. She can't have it both ways, ladies and gentlemen. It's a binary. Either Joe Biden was mentally incompetent to run for president and shouldn't be in office now, and you should have noticed it, or you were so obtuse and power hungry, you pushed him out and still won't admit why you pushed him out. Can you explain to me what option 3 is? Either she is a greedy, power-hungry loser who pushed her boss out, who gave her a chance on a DEI hire he mentioned, not us, or you just didn't recognize this guy's collapsing mental condition. Take a look at this.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After
is.
George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the...
Well, how do you? Brett's in a bad spot, folks. The guy's got 25 minutes. Again, I'm nobody's PR rep here. Just trying to be realistic. As a guy who's been in the content space for a long time, when you get liberals, they do this all the time. I'll prepare you now, because some of you out there are going to have. Some of you may have them now. I know we were just rated by a pretty cool. What was it? Deadhead Media or something like that. People who rated it. Some of you have your own shows now, and you can attest in the chat that what I'm saying is absolutely true. You know it. Sorry, I'm just looking over. When you're interviewing liberals, they do this all the time. Liberals will never answer a question. My show today, here, look, it's a chaotic little scene because I had to take notes all over the place. It says, nothing they tell you is true. I'm going to go into that in a second. It's an important point. I'm telling you nothing liberals tell you is true. Please follow me. Conservatives have very clear positions. They are not afraid to defend them. I believe in life. I believe in school choice. I believe in low income tax rates, low capital gains tax rates, and I can defend why I believe that. Liberals do not believe in any of that, but they just don't want to say it. They believe in hiking your taxes, but they lie. They go, oh, fair share. The school choice, oh, you're bankrupting public schools. Nothing they tell you is true. In essence, dialing back to the beginning, Brett knows that. So what Kamala Harris is doing is she can't actually say what she wants to do. Open the border, cut prisoners' balls off at taxpayer expense. She can't say that. So what liberals do is they filibuster. So Brett asked her a simple question. When did you notice Joe Biden was struggling? The honest answer is probably the minute he asked me to be his vice president. She can't say that. So she's got to bullshit and filibuster.
Sorry, y'all.
So he tries to bring her back, and there's nothing she's going to do. She just talks right over him because that's what Kamala Harris does. She's full of folks. This is the single worst candidate to ever run for president in my soon-to-be 50 years on planet Earth.
100%.
I'm serious, man. I've asked probably 100 people. Think about it. Pull yourself out. We've had some bad Republicans run for office, too, that just sucked. Were terrible campaigners. I mean, Mitt Romney comes to mind. There is no way Mitt Romney was a worse presidential campaigner. She's horrible.
And this is the thing, though. They wanted to move away from Joe Biden. They wanted to move towards Kamala Harris because of the money and whatnot. And they did some internal polling, and they said they thought that she would do better. But the thing about the matter is that she's not. And what's crazy is that, you know, as we're seeing more and more of this stuff pop up, so the Biden admin is slapped with a major lawsuit over alleged refusal to help states purge non-citizens from voter rolls. Why is there non-citizens on voter rolls? Because the Democratic machine, Biden-Harris administration, allowed over 20 million non-citizens, illegals, to come to the country. And what were they handed at the very beginning by NGOs? Voter registration forms, along with taxpayer benefits of housing assistance, Medicare, food stamps. They got a cell phone because they said, this is how we're going to track them. We're just going to give them a free iPhone or something. This is how we're going to track them. But now, when states are trying to do what's right for their citizens, the Biden admin is choosing non-citizens over citizens. That's where we're at right now, folks. And it's not like they're not trying to hide it. Check this out. I remember I told you how they have this coordinated attack of this is what the search showed. Check this out. You see this? Fox gets testy, anchor in testy interview, marked by testy exchanges over immigration. Opens with testy exchange. These are from all NPR, CNN, AP News, The Hollywood Reporter, CNA, Biden and break from Biden and testy Fox interview. It's all coordinated, y'all. We can see it. We have all the evidence now more than ever to see how the Democratic machine is trying to control people, control the narrative, and trying to make sure that people think a certain way, think of a certain word when they think of the interview. Oh, it was testy. Oh, yeah, it was testy. It's all coordinated. But this is what I love here, because when you hear from Brett Baier himself about how things went, it just shows you that you can't cover up what's there. Check this out.
Guys, good morning. I left there right after the interview, and I thought, wow, this was really a lot more contentious than I thought. It was there was a lot of filibustering. I didn't really want to keep on interrupting, but if I didn't, I thought there were maybe be 4 answers total in the interview. And I think I came away with there were moments that clearly she prepared for, that I think she wanted to have the viral moment, and she got it, and I think her campaign was happy with that. I think there were things that Mark played and some other moments where I think a lot of people looking back at the transcript are going to say, wow, that's interesting, it's newsy, it's not what she usually answers.
One of the things you talked about at some length was immigration. And if you pull up call for number 1, this is about her reaction, the Biden-Harris reaction to migrant crime.
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that.
So do you owe them an apology, is what I'm saying?
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely.
Why do you think?
But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all fairness, I told you,
But this is what bothers me. This is not an interview about Donald Trump. This is an interview about you. We're trying to learn about you. But you keep saying him. If I was Brett Baier, like, there's a part of me that says, man, he did a good job because he was very respectful, and that it allows for the focus to, if he would have fought with her over this interview and went back and forth, then it would have been all about the fight between an interview and Kamala Harris. But because he was respectful, it, to me, put a little bit more emphasis on Harris and how bad of a job she did. But at the same time, too, if he would have just said, ma'am, I am interviewing to know about you, not Donald Trump. We've already interviewed Donald Trump. Let's interview you. What do you think? What do you stand for?
Feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
One thing I noticed is that she didn't really seem to have a way to say, so here's what I'm going to do differently going forward, an opportunity to do that. That could have been an opportunity missed.
Yeah, and listen, Dana, that's the key thing about immigration, is that the 94 executive orders that were rescinded in the first days of the Biden-Harris administration, they opened the door. They took away the catch and release. They took away remain in Mexico, and that's the whole thing. I mean, she wants to talk about this bill that they dropped first, which was kind of an amnesty bill to path the citizenship for 11 million immigrants in the first days that had no chance. The White House had the Democrats had the White House, the House, and the Senate, and they didn't bring it up or push it. The second bill she talks about right away is the comprehensive bipartisan bill that had 6 Democrats that voted against it. And you know, yes, Donald Trump maybe lobbied against it, but there were also problems with that. And in between those 3.5 years was things that could have happened. And we've talked about that many times. And that's what I was trying to get to.
And then you did press her on the fact that the American people say that 79% of the country think it's on the wrong track. She tried to say, but that's because Trump's been running for 8 years. What do you make of that?
I thought it was interesting. I just think she came back to Donald Trump, I think maybe 15 or 20 times in the interview. And that one was really interesting because I was talking about the wrong track and she said, you know what I'm talking about. And I actually didn't. And I just said, I actually don't know what you're talking about. And
I love
think,
that part.
That was an interesting moment because she kept on going back to Donald Trump, who obviously hasn't been in office for the last 3.5 years.
And for those of you that didn't see last night, Brett, you explained that they got there a little late and then they tried to cut it off, so that's why you were sort of rushing at the end to let it come to a close.
Yeah, it was a quick dismount because I had a lot of people rapping me doing the big rap. But listen, I'm very grateful that they came on, and dealing with the Harris people has been fine. It was a little tense because we had a time deadline, and it started later. And originally we had 25, 30 minutes. Then it was 20 minutes. They were watching the clock, and so we had to speed things up at the end.
Brett, Mr. Gracious Bear, it's good to have you today.
I'm telling you what, and again, too, it's showing. So they just updated. Real Clear Politics is now updated with where the presidential election is at. So there's no more toss-up states. It's literally, this is where we're at. They're giving Trump Nevada, Arizona, all the swing states, 312 to 226. This is where things are at. And they have more of a dive into where things are at. But this just shows you that Trump is winning by doing what? He's just doing what he's always done. He's just being himself. But the presidential candidate for the Democrats is just so bad that everybody's like, man, I'm sorry. I just can't. Like, when people say that and they're just like, why? They're like, just look at it. Just look. Like, you can't. It's just too bad. And that's when you know they have a losing candidate. Check this out, because they've been fighting this on all the networks. And we got to represent our boy Scott Jennings, who's fighting for us on CNN. Check this out. Oh, come on.
No answer for why Biden and Harris threw out Donald Trump's executive orders and changed everything, and then a flood of people came in. An ounce of humility here would go a long way, and
yes.
She doesn't have it in her to do it, and she has no real answer other than to blame Congress. And Brett was right. Democrats controlled everything when they took over, and so is she saying it's the Democrats' fault that the immigration system is broken? I don't understand this. I don't understand why she can't just say, hindsight here, we shouldn't have done it. I think the American people would actually accept it, but she won't do it.
And I think that actually needs to be put on an ad, that whenever Biden won, they had the House, they had the Senate, and they had the presidency. But yet, they still didn't pass an immigration bill. They could have. They had all the votes, but they didn't because it wasn't a priority. It was only a priority to do what? Get illegals in the door. That was their focus. I've got some more updated news for y'all on the entire odds. Check this out.
House. He leads 61% to Harris's 39% on the betting market. That would be Polymarket.
Always
here,
follow
Kevin
the
O'Leary,
money.
The man himself. Do you think the betting odds paint a better picture than the polls?
Hard to know. I don't trust either. What I believe in now is election night, watching state by state go red or blue. I've learned that over the last 2 election cycles. I mean, to make bets from an investment point of view, because if I really believed this was going to nail it the way that betting odds looked, I'd go long energy right now, which I haven't done yet, because we know a Trump administration will be far more accommodative for drilling and less regulation. But I've talked to many colleagues. They're not willing to pull that trigger yet either. So people want to see the real deal. And the polls have been all over the map because we have to put real money to work. We're not just saying, hey, we're going to bet $5 on this outcome. We may put collectively $5 billion into it, and energy's a big deal.
Yes, it is. All right. Stay with me, please. You're with me for the hour. Good night. Listen to Harris try to explain why voters prefer Trump on the economy.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that.
Didn't really answer the question, Kevin, and she managed to turn it around to attack Trump.
There was a magic moment in that interview around the 6th minute. I was watching it with my daughter, who's a Harris supporter, so you can imagine Thanksgiving dinner at my place. But here was the moment. She was questioned about immigration for the first time with a timeline. Brett brought the timeline when the bills came, which no one has ever done before. So clearly the Biden administration, of which she was a part of, let a lot of people in before any bills were contemplated. And then she played that video of the mother who lost a child. It was a very powerful moment. That's when I said to Savannah, my daughter, she's going to do it. She's going to apologize to America right now for that mistake and own it, and she'll be a huge winner out of this. And we paused and we waited, and she didn't do it. It was a huge miss in the you think of history of these interviews for those incredible moments where she could have had that catharsis and said, we own it, we made that mistake, but I will be a new president and not do that again. That could have been her moment. She missed it in a big way. However, she got a zinger in there on Trump when, you know, they both have ads coming out of this. For Trump, it's going to be when she says, hey, look, you have to own everything you do in your administration.
Oh, exactly. That's the line.
Yes.
That will be used.
That'll be running in Philadelphia today. And for her, it was, you know, basically, I mean, Trump saying that, her saying to Trump, look, at the end of the day, I think I will be different than Biden. I will not be an extension of his administration.
Yet defended every policy.
Yep. Look, as Kevin is just talking there, Harris faced questions on the devastating impact of migrant crime under her watch, including the murder of Rachel Morin. Rachel's mother joined Fox and Friends this morning.
And I'm telling you this, like, I've got something else for y'all to see here, because the more and more that, like, as time passes by, we're actually learning more of what they're saying behind the closed doors, y'all. And this is pretty crazy. So stuff is being said that I'm not joking. I'm kind of like stood back. I'm like, it's taking me back for how bad things are getting, for what people are saying about Kamala Harris, about the illegals and all this. Check this out.
What else is Trump planning on doing, and can he articulate it?
Well, to me, I think it's a great question, and it needs to be fleshed out. I think we should probably play the clip, though, of Harris from the Chicago Economic Club, do we not have it? Because she didn't show up to talk. So here's what I think. He's going to extend the tax cuts. He's going to rein in the federal government and the overburdensome regulatory state, which he can now do because of the Supreme Court. And he's going to take on these countries that screw American workers. That's the plan. And by the way, he's going to crack down on immigration to the benefit of American workers.
He's going to deport 20 million people, the people who pick your crops.
Do you realize what she just said there? 20 million people. She really just admitted that the Biden-Harris administration just let in 20 million illegals. And look, they're going to deport people that pick your crops.
The people who process your meat, the people who, care for your grandmother, the people who serve all sorts of critical functions in this country. Yeah, he's going to deport a lot of people, and that's going to worsen the economy. In fact, there have been, I don't know, like a dozen different independent economic analyses from Goldman Sachs, AEI, Brookings, Nomura, Peterson Institute, all of them.
I know your argument. If you want to run on more illegal immigration as a Democrat, go ahead. I just don't think it's going to work in the election.
He wants to deport 20 million. I'm not done with his. I know what his economic policy is because he has talked about it. He doesn't understand how any of it would work, but he has talked about it. He wants 10% global tariffs, which would worsen inflation. He wants to deport 20 million people, which would worsen inflation and reduce growth. He wants to.
Do y'all hear this? This is like, what's crazy is they actually believe it. So forget that people came in illegally. Forget that people's lives have been lost. Forget that families have lost their loved ones to, illegals that have literally murdered them and taken their lives. Forget all that, because what's more important is that we got to keep them here, because if we don't, it's going to affect inflation and the economy instead of doing what's right. This is how far the Democratic Party has been removed from reality. Like, this is the point, and this is the thing. To me, I really want to know what you think, because you can't fix a lot of how people are thinking nowadays. It's not a right or wrong anymore. It's not any more of, hey, this is, really conservative, and then this is more center. This is completely just progressive. But the numbers look good for Trump. Check this out.
Kamala Harris not offering many details about her plans during this first ever Fox News interview.
Oh, Miss Tracy J. Norby with the super chat. Thank you so much. Show Mr. Tracy some love in the chat, everybody. He said, I've seen most of all this, and Kamala can make a decision even if her life depended on it. Think about it. She can't answer a simple, direct question at all. Fun show today. All my love here. Hey, love you too. Appreciate you, man. And hey, Jackie, silly me, carry on. Just got a member of the True Life family. Show some love in the chat, everybody.
With Brett Baier. A new Fox News poll finds the economy remains the top issue for voters. 70% said that the economy is in poor shape. The poll also finds Trump leads Harris by 8 points on the issue. 53% said that Trump would do a better job on the economy. Joining me now is Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke. He's a member of the House Appropriations, Foreign Affairs, and Joint Commission on China. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. Give us your reaction to the Kamala Harris interview on Fox last night.
Well, it was stunning. I don't know what she said, but what she did, she blamed every issue on Trump, but she didn't say anything about her policies at all. On the economy, it boils down to a lot of it is the energy. And while she doesn't say what she's going to do, we can see what Biden and Harris have done. I mean, we can't cut a tree out in the West, yet our forests are burning down. We can't dig a hole, and yet we have to get at critical minerals that power this economy, and we can't drill a well. So, energy is the heart of this, and she has no plan on energy other than to shut down Americans' ability to produce energy, produce, our critical minerals. And please, would you please allow us to cut a tree out west so we don't burn down our forest?
Well, I mean, look, Brett tried hard to get her to talk about her policies, but you're right. She did not discuss what her overall sort of North Star is. What is your agenda for the next 4 years? The inflation story didn't come up, but I suspect that's because after 20 minutes or 25 minutes, Kamala's people were rushing him out, going like this, rap. He had to speed through it at the end. But every time the issue of inflation comes up, she blames corporate America. So again,
Well, you look at it, it's just stunning ignorance. She sits on the National Security Council. She doesn't know we have troops in combat. I mean, Special Forces is probably in 65 countries. And then she tries to peddle that Trump's fault for this, quote, bipartisan immigration deal. It wasn't, it wasn't bipartisan. It didn't even make it out of the Senate. Didn't even make it out of committee. But what it did do, as you know, it would allow 1.8 million immigrants to cross the border without shutting it down, catch it and release. It would codify that, give free legal, free medical. It would allow work visas. At the end of the day, that was an amnesty bill. 100%. So she peddles that the reason why the amnesty bill failed was because of Trump. Well, if the amnesty bill failed because of President Trump, double thumbs up. Because it was.
But you know what? Just like they said, they called it a immigration bill, but it was an amnesty bill. Just like the Inflation Reduction Act wasn't about reducing inflation. It was the Green New Deal wrapped up with a new name. Biden even admitted to it, that said that it had more to do with climate than with inflation. This is what always bothers me, is like they talk about these points of having these bills, and I believe 99% of Americans have no freaking clue about what's going on in Congress. And again, too, most people don't have the time to, but this is why we got to create an informed people that know what's actually going on, so that way when these politicians say things, we could say, nope, that's a lie, because it wasn't that. We read the bill. We know what it's about. And that's going to be a big part. Again, what we do on True Life is bringing the truth about these dang bills these politicians try to pass by with all the extra fat.
A terrible bill.
Well, I mean, look, we should also point out the timing on this. I mean, look, she says that the Senate bill was the end all. Well, the Senate bill failed this year in 2024. She's been in office since 2021, and you've had 10 million illegals come into America on her watch. So it's hard to blame the Senate bill when the numbers shot up after they overturned all of President Trump's security at the border, and Brett kept going back to it. She wouldn't take it. I mean, the terrorist end of this has serious impact. People are really afraid that we could see a terrorist attack in this country, given all of the unvetted people. And now we see what's going on overseas. I mean, U.S. bomber jets struck 5 underground weapons facilities in Yemen overnight. These attacks targeted the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says that the facilities were holding various weapons, adding that the U.S. will continue to make clear to the Houthis that there will be consequences for their attacks. As Israel has reportedly finalized its counter-strike plans against Iran, U.S. officials expect the attack to happen before the November election. Congressman, what do you know about this, and what about this war on Israel?
Well, let's call it the way it is. And where is the threat coming from? To a degree, the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah are all surrogates of Iran. So until you deal with Iran and change their behavior, it will continue. And I give an analogy of this administration is hitting porta potties in the desert that don't affect the course of the battle. It doesn't affect their behavior. And look, it's all coming from Iran. So unless we deal with Iran head on, this is going to continue. And remember, Iran is launching ICBMs directly into Israel, not through their surrogates, but directly into Israel. And those ICBMs have the potential to be armed with a nuclear capability. And I do believe this is a serious. It could escalate.
Virginia Lamb, thank you so much for the super chat. Said thank you, Joe, for all you do. Why doesn't anyone in the left or conservative side bring up her Marxist communistic beliefs and her plans for us? 100%. Everybody show Virginia some love in the chat. And thank you so much, Jackie Silly Me, with the super chat. Said, wish I could get more, but every little bit helps. May God bless all those affected by the hurricanes and all in the True Life family. Now let's get Trump back in the White House. Let's go. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody.
Very, very quickly. But until you deal with Iran, this administration refuses to somehow.
Well,
I mean, they've started sanctions, et cetera, et cetera.
And that also came up last night. You know, Brett Baier said to her, look, people are saying that you say that Iran is the #1 threat, but it's not the way you're acting. Given the fact that you blew off all the sanctions, enabled Iran to raise all this money to help support these proxies, these terrorist groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. Again, She said Iran was the #1 issue. A lot of people were questioning why she doesn't see China skeptically. Your thoughts?
Well, I think there is a tri-axis of evil that coordinate. You have Russia that's pinning us in Ukraine. We're $200 billion in, no plan, no strategy yet. We have Venezuela, no one talks about. You have ICBMs being lobbed from Israel or from Iran into Israel, and then you have China. All four of these areas are well coordinated, and it's straining our military, it's straining our response. But again, unless you start dealing with what the core issue is and who's causing the problems, it will continue.
You know, we were just looking at Poly Market. What is Trump at right now, Mark Tepper? The Poly Market, which is a site which is making bets on the election, has Trump soaring ahead. What's the number, Mark?
Yeah, so right now, the betting odds market has Trump at 59.9% to Kamala at 40.0%. And in the 6 swing states, Trump is ahead in 5 of the 6. It's a dead heat in Nevada.
So Trump is soaring ahead after that interview. What does this mean for the down ballot races, Congressman? A lot of money being spent on Montana's Senate race between Senator Jon Tester and his Republican challenger, Tim Sheehy. Political action committees have spent nearly $140 million so far. A total of $225 million has been spent on the race, and recent polls show Sheehy has a lead on Tester. The Washington Post out with a piece saying control of the Senate could be decided by this race. They say that some residents are concerned about Sheehy's Montana values because he only moved to the state 10 years ago, Congressman. What's your take on what's going on in Montana this year?
I would make bets about 2 things. One, President Trump's going to win Montana decisively, and never bet against the United States Navy SEALs. So Tim Sheehy is a SEAL. I tell you, he married a Marine. He's as good as they come. I can't wait till Tim Sheehy's in the United States Senate.
Wow.
I can tell you, Maria, here in Montana, they figured out that Jon Tester is just 350 pounds of bovine exhaust.
Wow, what a power couple. Navy SEAL
Let's
and a Marine.
go.
All right, I like it. Ryan Zinke.
I'll tell you what, I've got something special for you. So, like, I showed y'all the video earlier. It was, the car it was basically Kamala Harris, leaving the interview and just wrecking into everything. And then Mr. Tracy J. Norrie was like, no, it was a train wreck. Somebody made this is Harris's campaign right here. It's this just completely gone. And then somebody posted this. This is the impractical jokers. When he says that 79% of Americans believe the country is on the wrong track under your vice presidency, blame Trump. Donald Trump has been running for office. Like, literally, this is what we saw. Like, no matter what question it was, she was already trained by her team to redirect to Trump, say how bad he is, or redirect about how we're going to, make a new way forward because we don't want to deal with the rhetoric anymore. And it's like, but the rhetoric is on both sides. That's what doesn't get me. They call him Hitler. They say he's a fascist. They say that he's a threat to democracy. They say that, that the country's, that Trump's going to put people in camps. So I don't understand how things change or the country gets any better because your argument is that what? That you're just going to be in president? And remember how she said, and I think that Brett Baier did this on purpose. Remember whenever he asked her and said, hey, why do you think that people are choosing Trump over you, over the economy? And is it because, they're just ignorant or are they stupid? And what does she say? No. Check this out.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
So
that's why you keep the receipts, everybody. That's why that's why the internet, it saves everything. You cannot say things and then not be able to go back on it without either apologizing or saying something stupid. But today's been a great show. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. I really appreciate all the people in the chat. I think y'all got a little bit too crazy today, y'all. Y'all in the chat, y'all had some fun today, but hey, that's what we're here for, guys. We want to have fun. We want to get together, represent that flag, put America first. Want to give some thanks to Mr. Tracy J. Norup for the super chat, Virginia Lim, Jackie Silly Me, and just now Sandra Mario NZ. Thank you so much for the super chats. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody. I love this community. Appreciate you all. Everybody in the chat. Josie, you have a good day. Geoff, Pal Freeman, thank y'all so much for your support. We will see y'all in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.